بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. أسأل الله تبارك وتعالى أن يجعل نياتنا خالصة لوجهه الكريم. Inshallah, I want to share something with you that was recently written by the author of this book, Sheikh Saeed Foda. I want to read something to you. Are y'all ready? I told you what is happening in Egypt, right? With a lot of the Wahhabiyya, their leaders, and a lot of the people, they are leading away from those ideologies outwardly and claiming to follow Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, right? And so there is this thing going on in the world, in the Arab world, right? Especially in Egypt. There are trials going on and different stuff is occurring. So the author, Sheikh Saeed Foda, he put this statement out, and I want to read it to you because we're talking about a critique of the Palmyran Creed and deconstructing Ibn Taymiyyah's theology of resemblance. And I'll just translate it to save time. He said that some of his followers, meaning the followers of Ibn Taymiyyah, they are saying that they are leaving off his school of thought. Al-Madhhab at-Taymiyyah, meaning they follow his thoughts. So it's the Taymiyyah madhhab, right? The madhhab of Ibn Taymiyyah. Because some ideas he came up himself, as we will discuss later. He said, so they saying they left his madhhab, his way. He said, then we see them defending Ibn Taymiyyah by saying he was not an anthropomorphist. Right? So they say, we're not following Ibn Taymiyyah, but then they'll come defend him and try to say that he wasn't an anthropomorphist. Then Sheikh Saeed goes on to say, what we refute and critique about Ibn Taymiyyah are known in his books. They are present in his books. The things that we're refuting are in his books, like the Palmyran Creed. He said, so let's cast aside what people say he repented from his ideas, he didn't follow them at the end of his life, or whether he didn't repent for them, or he didn't correct them. Let's not even pay attention to that. What is in his books are what his followers rely upon, right? That's reality. What's in his books, that's what the people are relying on today. He said, so what we are refuting is a methodology, is a school of thought, not necessarily a person. Right? What we're refuting is a school of thought, ideas, and methodology, not necessarily a person. So when we criticize Ibn Taymiyyah, it's because he represents a school that exists. He represents a school that exists. It's a methodology. And he represented through his books. And when we critique Ibn Taymiyyah, it's not because he's just a person that believes that school. But what really is being refuted is the methodology that he represented and that he spoke about and that is presented in the books. So we're not really talking about the individual. When we mention the individual, we're actually refuting a methodology, a school of thought that that individual represents. Did y'all follow that? So he said, because of this, the person of Ibn Taymiyyah is not important to us. Ibn Taymiyyah, the person, is not important. And we have no enmity for him as a person. But what we have enmity to is that methodology that he attributed himself to. So what we should understand is we should understand correct and invalid methodologies, not individuals. Right? Because individuals can change their methodology, but that methodology that they defended that was wrong still exists. Is this point clear that he made? Is it clear? Did y'all follow his point? And that's why this is recent. He just put this out. I just received it. I mean, the day, I had it yesterday, but this was yesterday morning. It's very, very important. So I could take that same thing. When I keep telling you, and somebody said, well, who is that? Who is that? Don't concentrate on the individual. That's really not important. It's the ideology, the bad creed that we're dealing with. So even if the individual are different, the bad creed is the one that remains the same. So for instance, someone will say, if I say Ibn Taymiyyah, I say Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, I say Abdul Aziz bin Baz, I say Saleh ibn Uthaymeen, I say Saleh al-Fawzan, I say Rabi al-Madkhali, I say Nasiruddin al-Albani. What do all of them have in common? No matter which name I use, what do all of them have in common? That's a question. You've been studying long enough. What do they all have in common? Let's see if y'all got the whole point of all these classes. Just Malika? And what is that bad creed? What is that creed and methodology? What is it? Because that's vague. They have the same creed. What creed? What is it? The same ideas. What are the ideas that we're talking about right now in this book? It's two things we're talking about in this book. Two main bad creeds. One word's right and the other word is wrong, Malika. You pick which one. And there's another word that should replace one word. Malika. So she put tamthil and tashbih. Is another word. One word should be taken out and another word put, and you got it. Then I know you understand. Liking the law to the creation is called tashbih. So what are the Arabic words, Sufyan? You are right. There you go, Abdurrahman. Boop. They both commit tashbih and tajsim. All of them share that. Right? So Ibn Taymiyyah, he lived in the 8th century. Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab lived in the 13th century. Albany, Bin Baz, Ibn Uthaymeen, they lived in the 15th century, our time. So they all lived in different times. But the same false ideology of tashbih and tajsim is shared by all of them. So no matter who we talk about, it is the same issue. So even if we come to our communities in the African American community and we mention so-and-so or so-and-so and so-and-so of the Black people who carry tajsim and tashbih, it's the same discussion. So we don't even need to mention them necessarily. We need to attack and refute the ideology, the creed that is bad. And we only mention the person because they may represent that creed. Do you understand? So even though what we have among the Wahhabiyas in the inner cities, in the African American community, because you know there's racism in Salafiyah too, right? Y'all do realize that, right? Malika, is that true? Isn't there racism in Salafiyah? In practice. Let me see how much Salafiyah you got. Is that true? Is there racism in Salafiyah? In practice. I'm not saying it's supposed to be there, but in practice. And what's the dalil of that? Most of your African American Salafis have rebelled against the Saudis. Am I right or wrong? And they went on a campaign to stop the getting permission from Saudi, which was the Arabs. And they realized how bad they were treated. And then they divided from those who are still loyal to their Saudi masters and those who are no longer, we on black time and we doing for us as a people. That is occurring, isn't it? Come on, Malika, you sharing, you gotta represent your peeps. Oh my good. Malika, where you at? Come on, jump out there. Don't leave me to take all the shots. I need your help, right? So it's the same issue, right? Black folk got it no matter what we do. It don't matter. Pick it. It's still the same. But the issue that despite their rebellion against the racism, which is a good rebellion, and many people, because of that rebellion, they're like, yes, but they're forgetting that they still keep the same creed. They're still holding on that creed of Tejseem and Teshbih. So they've rebelled against the racist practices, the unfair treatment of blacks, that you always a student of knowledge. You can never be a sheikh, no matter how much you learn. You still a student of knowledge. You're only a translator for them. You can never be a real sheikh. You under them all the time. So they're rebelling against that, but they still carrying the bad creed that Ibn Taymiyyah had, that Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab had, that the Hashawiyya in the early days in the 4th century had. They're still carrying that same belief. And now our people are still tricked, still bamboozled, still hoodwinked by the same bad creed, but we ain't following the Saudis. Yes, you are. You're just following that same ideology in black skin. So the person becomes irrelevant. We got to deal with the creed. If you understand my point. Is my point clear? So we don't have to. The problem that we're dealing with is Teshbih and Tejseem, no matter who the person is. So if you get the concept, no matter who speaks it, you'll be able to identify it. But if you don't get the concept, different speakers will be able to say the same thing to you. Right? So my issue is not with individuals necessarily. It's with the ideologies that individuals may carry, and I'm only mentioning the individual to identify what? The methodology, the false methodology. It's not about the individual. Right? It's not about the individual. It's about the methodology. And the individual, is only carrying the methodology of someone else that they got from the books of Ibn Taymiyyah. So even if you say that, right, it's still the same stuff. This issue is still the same. This problem of methodology correlates with your scattered thoughts this morning. I got a lot on my mind. Please excuse me. I told you I'm suffering from righteous anger. This work gets tiresome sometimes trying to help us, right? You're in here, Martin Luther King. There's a video. I'm going to get to our creed, probably, maybe not. I don't know. I got 10 minutes. There's a video. It's one of the last videos of Martin Luther King. It's a short video. And he talked about how he was tired. And he said his "I have a dream" has become a nightmare. Did anyone see that video? Of Martin Luther King is the last, and he was talking about what needs to be done, and they asked him about his dream and all that stuff. It was like it was a rare video. It's like old, before he died. And he was on a whole different mission. But he said it, I'm tired. You know? He said, I'm tired. And yeah, I know that feeling. Right? I know that feeling. Different fight, but the same feeling. Right? So it's important that you understand these issues so that we can deal with the creed, right? And we can fix it. The video is on there. I don't know the name of it, and I don't want to put it up because I don't want them to cut us off, right? I got a lesson from that before. If you share videos or music, or I'm just careful when I'm posting those things so they don't cut us. But someone can, on their own personal page, can share that video. Or if I find it, I'll share it on my own page. I think we could do that. This is a bigger forum, so maybe it might have some stuff I don't know about. Tell you. So that's the point. All right, inshallah. So we got the first example related to this idea of what is said about the attributes is said about the self. So we're on page 62. Inshallah, we'll read for the next 8 minutes. I'm sorry. But alhamdulillah. Go ahead. Bismillah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulullah. The author, may Allah Ta'ala have mercy upon him, said, the second principle. What is said regarding the attributes? I'm sorry.
No, the first example, paradise, page 62.
Wrong page. Sorry.
But it's under that subject matter. Tomorrow, remind me to lay out a platform for this book for you. So tomorrow, we're not going to read. Maybe we'll do a little reading at the end, but I'm going to spend most of the time highlighting some points about this book and its format and the issues that Ibn Taymiyyah brought up that you need to be aware of. I'm going to summarize it so that when we read it, you have a better context. I was thinking about that because I don't want to lose nobody, inshallah, because I know this is a read that requires a lot of thought and a lot of processing. I understand that. So I'm going to try to summarize some points so you have, maybe a little map to go through the book. Go ahead.
Sorry. The first example, paradise. Ibn Taymiyyah wished to elucidate and further explain his words, so he mentioned two examples. As is known, an example, mathal, is drawing resemblance excuse me, between one thing and another. He said, as for two examples provided, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informed us about the creation found in paradise, the types of food, clothing, intimate relations, and dwellings. He informed that it contains pure milk, honey, wine, water, flesh, silk, gold, silver, fruits, houris, and castles. Ibn Abbas, radiallahu anhuma, said, there is nothing in
And
the
I
world.
just want to share, Farouk, if you be a good boy and you be a good Muslim, you're going to get you some houris in the paradise. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist that. That was just for Farouk. So you can leave the other ones alone. I'm sorry. We're family, right? We got to have some fun. Go ahead.
There is nothing in the world that is found in paradise except for the names. If those realities mentioned by Allah Ta'ala are in agreement with the realities existing in the world by their names, and they are not like them, rather, there being such dissimilarity between them that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows, then the Creator subhanahu wa ta'ala is more dissimilar to the creation as the two creations are between themselves. His dissimilarity from his creation is even greater than the dissimilarity between what exists in the hereafter and what exists in this world. A created thing that shares the same name with another created thing is closer to it than the creator is with the creation. This is evident and clear. Here,
Allahu Akbar. You get this idea of tashbih of Ibn Taymiyyah, right? La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Go ahead.
here, Ibn Taymiyyah claimed that the sharing between what is in paradise and this world is in name only, and that their realities are dissimilar. What he was trying to say is that even if some names and attributes are shared between Allah Ta'ala and us, this still does not imply likeness because there is still dissimilarity. If Ibn
Likeness at tamthil. Likeness at tamthil. So keep the words. Remember, Ibn Taymiyyah has a different understanding between at tamthil and at tashbih. So he's talking about at tamthil here, likeness, not at tashbih, resemblance, right? So there is no tamthil. He didn't say there's no resemblance. He affirmed resemblance, but not tamthil, likeness. Pay attention to the words. Go ahead.
If Ibn Taymiyyah really believed there is no sharing between what is in paradise and what is in this world except by name only, and that there is complete difference in their respective realities, then why did he not say the same for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Why did he affirm anger for Allah ta'ala as it is affirmed for the creation? Why did he affirm love for Allah ta'ala as it is affirmed for the servants? Why did he describe Allah ta'ala with the reality of the attributes as they apply to creation? He affirmed contingency, being acted upon, direction, movement, indwelling of contingent actions, and other things. He took all of these from his understanding of how these things apply to the servants in creation and transferred it to Allah Ta'ala's entity. Even Allah
Meaning the
Ta'ala's
self of
speech.
Allah.
Sorry.
Mhm.
Even Allah Ta'ala's speech, he said, possesses letters and sounds. If you really believe
Yeah.
that the
So
sharing
here's the point. So he talked about paradise and said the words are the same, but the meanings are different. But when he affirmed attributes to Allah, he mentioned that the realities that are in the human beings, the realities, they are resembling and they are perfected in the human, so they must be transferred to Allah. And that's how he came up with contingency, actions, location, direction, movement, indwelling of created things. There's the resemblance. Now,
If he really believed that the sharing between Allah Ta'ala and creation was in name only, was it not obligatory upon him to negate all of these implications of contingency that prove imperfection, need, and resemblance? We can safely conclude that he did not affirm a mere sharing between Allah Ta'ala and creation in
hey,
outward
wait a
knowing
minute.
only.
وَلَكِنَّهُ لَا يَفْعَلُ ذَلك. But he didn't do that. He made these comparisons, right? Go ahead.
On the contrary, he equated and drew a resemblance between the meanings affirmed for Allah Ta'ala and the meanings affirmed for creation.
Mm.
The only real distinction, according to him, was in the form, shape, and manner, not the reality.
Keep this point. So when they're talking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? They're saying the only difference, and this is Ibn Taymiyyah and the Wahhabiyya and so-called Salafiyya who follow him, the only difference is in the actual form and shape of the attribute, not its reality. So what they say, that Allah has a hand, wal-iyadhu billah, but we don't know the how of his hand, but it's a real hand. So the meaning of form, shape exists, just the reality of it is unknown. And this is tashbih, ayn tashbih, wa ayn tajsim. This is the essence of liking the law of resemblance and the essence of anthropomorphism. Now,
If we want to verify the distinction between what is in the world and what is in paradise, we cannot say, as Ibn Taymiyyah did, that the sharing between the two is in name only. We must also say that the sharing is between the realities. Their reality is one, but the attributes and necessary states are different. Were that not the case, we would not recognize paradise if we see it, and it would not be allowed to name the things in it with the same names of what is in the world. In this world, wine is known. However, in paradise, it would be a pure wine that is not described as causing human failings. In the hereafter, the base qualities of wine are absent. The same may be said regarding the fruits and things existing in the hereafter. They contain the pure reality of those things, whilst being free of the things that are associated with imperfection in this world. This is why Ibn Abbas said that we only know the names. He meant that those things are found in the hereafter in their best possible forms. This is what is meant by the foods and drinks, not what Ibn Taymiyyah claimed. Do you not see that we also elevate those things in paradise from all types of imperfections? That is because Allah Ta'ala has promised us a better and more perfect life there. So we must categorically believe that there are no corruptions or imperfections there, all according to what is fitting for creation. We do not generalize and extend our belief in these sharing in realities with different forms and apply it to Allah Ta'ala as Ibn Taymiyyah did. What is affirmed for Allah Ta'ala is completely dissimilar in its reality to what is affirmed for us, and the only sharing is in some of what the words imply. We would never affirm for the Creator what is affirmed for the creation, as the two realities are dissimilar. As for things between the creation, there is no harm in there being some sharing in their realities with different forms, states, and manners. Based upon this premise,
Here's an important. So whenever you talk about Allah and His creation, al-haqa'iq, the realities, are completely different. No share. Whereas when you talk about the creation, one creation and the other, the dunya and Jannah, the haqa'iq, the realities, are different in form, shape, but they are realities. They are contingent realities. All of them. Do y'all understand this clearly? So when you talk about the things in this world and the things in paradise, all of them, though their realities are different, they are contingent, all of them. The reality of them, that they are contingent entities. Contingent meaning created entities. When you talk about Allah, His reality has nothing to do with contingency, so there is no resemblance. There is no likeness nor resemblance, not even partially in reality. So there will be no analogy between Allah and any created thing. As Ibn Taymiyyah drew those realities, those analogies through the creation to the creator and applied them to the creator. And this is a mistake. Is this clear for everyone? Did everyone follow that? Oh, Tayyip, go ahead.
based upon this premise, our scholars have taken the outward and apparent meanings of the verses and texts that describe paradise. However, they understood them to be loftier forms and attributes that are free of imperfections existing in the world. On the other hand, when it came to the texts that relate to the attributes of Allah Ta'ala and His entity, they were obliged to understand them with meanings that are in keeping with the dissimilarities in realities between the truth, Allah Ta'ala, and the creation. The methodology of the people of truth is the truth, but since Ibn Taymiyyah claimed that the realities were the same, he did not find any reason or motive to interpret some attributes that have apparent meanings similar to those affirmed for the creation. That is the basis for the doctrine of anthropomorphism, which is why he said, for this reason, the people were
So his concept is, he said, وَهَذَا هُوَ أَصْلُ مَذْهَبْ التَّجْسِيم. This is the essence of the school or the methodology of anthropomorphism. That's why, go ahead.
For this reason, the people were divided regarding this into three distinct groups. The first group are called the Salaf. The first group are the Salaf. The Imams and their followers believed in what Allah Ta'ala informed about Himself and the hereafter, while knowing the clear distinction, mubayyana, between what is in this world and what is in the hereafter, and that the clear distinction between Allah Ta'ala and His creation is ever greater indeed. The second group were those who affirmed those things that Allah Ta'ala informed about regarding the hereafter, such as punishment and reward, while they negated many things He informed regarding the attributes, such as the factions of the rational theologians al-Kalam. The third group negated this, such as the Qaramita, the Batiniya, and the peripatetic philosophers, and other atheists who denied the realities of what Allah Ta'ala informed regarding Himself and the last day.
Let's stop there. What page are you on?
Page 65 at the top.
Okay, good. All right, we'll pick up from there tomorrow, inshallah. I want to make sure if we have any questions so far about anything we covered related to this, please feel free. Reader, check the private chat, inshallah. Go ahead. If there are any questions, feel free. Related to what we're talking about. Don't take me all over the place. Whatever you got question about, you didn't understand, let's try to clarify it. Feel free. Go ahead. And by the way, where's the book? Tonight at 7:30, Sheikh Yahya will be continuing his book, The Seven Hadith. So that's tonight at 7:30. Sheikh Yahya al-Baltimore, the Baltimorean, will continue in his book, The Seventh Hadith, inshallah. So this will be at 7:30, this book. I don't know what topic. Imam, can you clarify about this topic? I couldn't catch and understand it well. I don't know what you're talking about. Still a bit, Sufyan, I don't know what you're talking about. What topic? Your question is not a question. I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, it's a question, but it's not clear. What topic are you talking about? No. What he did is he made an analogy. You got to follow the discussion. His principle in his creed, Palmyran Creed, was that what is ever said about the attributes is also said about the self, meaning Allah's essence, right? So he affirmed some resemblance and not likeness to the attributes of Allah. So he applied that to the self of Allah by saying we don't know how. There is a how that we don't know. So an example of that is that between this world and paradise, there are things that are mentioned about this world and they are mentioned in paradise, but they are different, but they are real. And he took that analogy to apply it to Allah. Do you follow? Which is a false example. Do you understand? So even though it is not an exact similitude, likeness, it shares in some resemblance in realities. And this is false. Do y'all follow that? It's just think about it. You got to understand the wordplay. Once you understand the wordplay, it's easy to understand what is intended. So let's go back to the base, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. Is it clear? Right. Free slave, that's it. That's where people are getting, you got to get these words in the speech of Ibn Taymiyyah. Tamthil, which is likeness. Versus tashbih. Right? You got to understand these two words to understand what he's saying. He understands likeness as a complete sharing of realities. He negates that. Resemblance, though, is a reality with different modalities. That's what he affirms. Does that make sense to you? Is it more clear? So when he says tamthil, in English is likeness and resemblance in the translation. In Arabic, it's tamthil and tashbih. There is no tamthil in the mind of Ibn Taymiyyah, right? But there is naw'un min at-tashbih. There is an aspect of resemblance. What is distinct, though, is the difference of the kayfiyya. Do y'all follow that? Can y'all express that well? Does everyone understand what I just explained? I'll repeat it and you can say yes or no. In the mind of Ibn Taymiyyah, in his speech, at-tamthil is a complete likeness of reality, right? That's negated for Ibn Taymiyyah. However, at tashbih, if it's complete resemblance, he calls that tamthil, and that is negated. If it is an aspect of resemblance in realities, but the kayfiyya is different, then to him, that is okay. And that is affirmed for Allah's attributes and his self. Wal-iyadhu billah. That's what is being said. That's his claim. And that's how he can make an example between this world and then Jannah and apply that to Allah, because there is not a complete resemblance in the realities of the things of this world and those things that are similar in paradise. So they're not the same because the kayfiyya is different. Likewise, Allah, and compared to the rest of creation, has the same analogy. And this is a false analogy. I don't know another way to put it to make it more clear. Do you understand? No. You misunderstood. Take the word complete out. You don't need to say complete. Nothing resemble or is in a likeness with Allah or his attributes. Complete, that's Ibn Taymiyyah talk. And he uses words to distinguish those things. That is rejected by Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. Right? There is no tamthil, no tashbih. Right? Not even an aspect of tashbih. But Ibn Taymiyyah says there's an aspect of tashbih because the realities are real and they're just, the difference is there's no kayfiyah. The modality, the howness is different. But they do share in some resemblance. It's just the howness that is different. And that is rejected by Ahl Sunnah. Like as David Curry mentioned, this world is created, the Jannah is created, so it's false to compare either with the Creator. Even in an aspect, there is no comparison, not even in one aspect. There's no resemblance between Allah and his creation in no aspects. The haqiqah of Allah is not like, in no way, al-haqa'iq, the creation's realities. It is completely different. Oh, y'all don't got kayfiyah yet? Kayfiyah is howness, modality. I thought somebody, where's Miriam Rose and her crew? I thought y'all supposed to have a glossary of terms. So that we help each other. Everybody's supposed to be working here, right? They're supposed to have a glossary of terms. What happened to your glossary of terms? Quit. The youth and Khadijah, where y'all at? Y'all was supposed to be making a glossary of terms. Khadijah, Miriam Rose, y'all was supposed to be doing that job. What happened? No, that's important. So you can, so al-kayfiyah is howness or modality, right? Khadijah is now doing her job. May Allah reward her. So the only difference between the creator and the creation to Ibn Taymiyyah is the kayfiyah. That's it. Other than that, it's all the same. If you want to break it all the way down. So Allah has a hand, humans have a hand, animals have a hand. The only difference between their hands is the modality of their hand, but it's all real and the same. If you want to break it down to a simplest point, but it's not that simplistic. But that's the, if you want to just break it down as simple as you can get, that's what's being said. Do y'all follow that? Just what he said. Laysa kamithli shay. There is no tamthil for Allah. As for na'un min at-tashbih, an aspect of tashbih, he says that's lazim, that's necessary to establish al-haqa'iq, to establish realities. Do you understand that? Which is ugly kufr. I mean, honestly, I hate to say it, but the way it's ugly, but it's so hidden in the terms. Do you understand? This is correct, right there. This is correct. Ibn Taymiyyah claims, his claims, which are rejected by Ahl Sunnah, shared realities. The realities are the same, right? But howness of those realities are different. This is actually tashbih, really complete similarity. This is actually tamthil. This is actually tajsim. That's correct. It's very important because this applies to the Salafiyya Wahhabiyya movement today. It's the same thing. And if you have a discussion with them and don't get personal, you're going to get to this from talking to them. Take out the personal, right? Because here's what happens when you have a discussion with a Wahhabi or a Salafi. You start getting personal. And then when you get personal, the whole point gets avoided, right? Don't get personal. Let them be more knowledgeable. It doesn't make a difference, right? It's not an ego contest. I know more than you. I know more Arabic than you. I know this. Fine. Let's get to the point. I surrender all that. Let's get to this point. Once you get to this point, you're going to understand what is really being said. But if you get distracted with a bunch of quotes from the Quran and quotes from the Hadith and fascinating you with Arabic language, when you get past all that and say, all right, then let's get down to what you're trying to say to me. Some of you could use some street knowledge. I hate to say it. Some of you could use street knowledge. What do I mean by that? In the street, somebody always running game. And you got to be able to read between the lines to get what's being done. Right? That's how people in the street survive. They're able to recognize game. They're able to read between the lines, even though they don't have a big college degree or a PhD. They're able to read between the lines. You follow what I mean? So that would help us to be able to say, you know, what are you really saying here? What are you really trying to say to me? Right? And when you get that, you'll understand with all the fancy terms and big words, after all that is said and done, you're trying to tell me that Allah has some resemblance to creation? Right? That's at the end of the day, that's what you're trying to tell me? And you just got a fancy way of saying that, what makes it seem like that's not what you're saying? Because if you're not saying that, then what it means is that the Ash'ari are right. Because that's what they're saying. Ash'aris, Maturidis, Ahl Sunnah are saying that there is no resemblance between Allah and His creation, not even partially, not even in one aspect. The only thing is that the words, because the dictates of language, you use certain words to identify attributes and names, but the realities and meanings behind them are completely different and in no way resemble. That's the belief of Ahl Sunnah. Are you saying that? And the answer is no. There is a resemblance. Okay, well, that's where our difference is at. Do you see the point? You can quote all the Quran you want. You can quote all the Hadith you want. But if you get to that point, that's where the difference is. Is this understood? Are y'all following? That's it. And if that's not the case, then we have no dispute. So what are we disputing about if that's not the case? If you're not trying to tell me Allah resembles His creation in some way, then we don't have a dispute. Because that's exactly what the Ash'aris are saying. But if you're saying, as Ibn Taymiyyah did say, no, there is some resemblance between Allah and his creation, just the modality is different. And we say, no, there is no modality related to Allah or his attributes. Do you understand? So hence, Sheikh Saeed Fawda, Hafizullah, he made a point. He said the Wahhabiyya, Salafiyya are not Ahl Sunnah. It doesn't fit. And the real Salafiyya and Wahhabiyya, they will tell you that the Ash'aris and the Maturidis are not Ahl Sunnah, according to them. How is it possible that the Ash'aris and Maturidis will say the Wahhabiyya are not Ahl Sunnah, and the Wahhabiyya and the Salafiyya will say the Ash'aris and Maturidis are not Ahl Sunnah? There's a reason for that, a legitimate reason, because they don't believe the same things. They don't. Right? They don't believe the same things. So there is no reconciling this difference except somebody's wrong. There's no way to reconcile these differences. Do you understand that? It's not something we can fix except by to explain the truth and to clarify falsehood. One is right, one is wrong. You can't have it both ways. Sorry. It doesn't work. And he mentioned, he said, if the Wahhabiyya follow the methodology of Ibn Taymiyyah, and Ibn Taymiyyah's methodology was clearly mentioned in his books, aspects of resemblance, but no complete likeness, this is rejected by Ahl Sunnah. And this, according to Ahl Sunnah, is incorrect, invalid, not permissible to believe. Then it cannot go forward that the Wahhabiyya or Salafiyya are Ahl Sunnah when they hold ideas and methodologies that are totally against Ahl Sunnah. And Ahl Sunnah al-Ash'ari wal Maturidiyya. And that's why the Wahhabi would say that the Ash'aris and Maturidis are not Ahl Sunnah, because the beliefs they hold contradict the same thing as the Wahhabiyas believe, the Wahhabiyya or the Salafiyya believe. There's no way around it. There's no way around it except to feign ignorance. Is that correct? Where is my English major? Feign ignorance, is that true? Is that the proper word to use? Or that's my Ebonics kicking in? Is everyone clear? I've tried to explain it several ways. Are we following? Everyone following me? So do yourself a favor, right? Sit down for a minute sometime today and try to write out what you understand. Take a couple minutes and try to explain this self to yourself. Write it down, write it out, and see what you come up with, to see that you understand. Because then you can look at what's in your mind. Sometimes you have in your mind, because you can't see it, it gets scrambled a little bit. Write it out so you can see what you're talking about, to see what you understand. So if you got this point, you've understood mostly everything we've read. And the rest of the book is going to expound on different aspects that Ibn Taymiyyah tried to push this off. Do you follow? Okay, tell you. No more questions, we good? It's going to take time because I'm telling you, the ideas of the Wahhabis and Salafis have spread far and wide. And most people, they thought this was default Islam. And that's part of the trick that's been played on us. That's the hoodwinking and the bamboozle and all that other stuff. Because we have been exposed to a Wahhabi mindset. And now we have to rethink the whole process. And that's tiresome. Because, you'd be like, man, here we go again. Yeah, it'll wear you out. I got that part. It will wear you out. But that's the struggle in Deen. And once you got this stuff, you have a major aspect of the correct creed. Because here, what you don't realize this. Here's the game. Y'all ready? The Wahhabiyya do not contradict Ahl Sunnah in everything. They have aspects of their belief that are 100% in accord with Ahl Sunnah. They have 100% agreement with Ahl Sunnah. And then they have these aspects that totally contradict Ahl Sunnah. So when it's put all together, you think it's the same. And you don't highlight that which is different. So the Wahhabi pray like us. The Wahhabi may follow a madhab. The Wahhabi may have all the other beliefs, read hadith, memorize Quran, do all of that, but they have an anthropomorphic belief about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it negates all that other stuff. But because of all the similarities, you think we're the same. And that's how Ibn Taymiyyah thought about Allah. Because of the similarity of words, he began to think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has some resemblance. I'm sorry, my internet, the lights went and my internet went. All right, so we clear? I'm sorry. The lights went out. Internet dropped. I feel like I'm in Africa, Gambia. Nah, but I'm back. All right, are we good? Okay, so mashallah, we clear. Everything is good. Everything went well. So remember tonight at 7:30, the seventh hadith, the seven hadith. And inshallah, we'll see you tonight. And tomorrow we'll do a good review, right? Inshallah, tomorrow we'll do a good review. But please review yourself. Write this stuff out so you can get it in your mind. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. بارك الله فيكم وجزاكم الله خيرا. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.